Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worldly One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear Dhamma friends, today Sutta, what we're going to learn, has a couple of things for us to study for. So, we have to see the nature of our behavior or our practices with the time when we try to study the Dhamma. Okay? So, there are the drawbacks of practicing Dhamma, but there are difficulties. So, there are difficulties of practicing Dhamma, and what kind of view or what kind of way we look at our life and how it changes, it shows in this sutta. So today we're going to learn the sutta called Cātumasutta. Cātum is one of the village where the Supreme Buddha was dwelling at. Okay? So the sutta begins in this way. Evam me sutang, thus I have heard. Ekang samayang bhagava chatumayang viharati amalikavane. So Supreme Buddha was dwelling at Cātuma, Amalikanam's forest of that. Tena kopana samayena sariputta moggalana pamukhani panchamatani bhikkhu-satani Cātumam anupattati honti bhagavantam dassanaya. So this sutta, it explains that when the Supreme Buddha was dwelling at Cātuma in Amalikavana, on that time, Sariputta Bhante, the chief disciple, and Moggalan Bhante, they were traveling toward Cātuma with huge number of bhikkhus, the great number of bhikkhus, and 500 monks. So, visiting to see the Supreme Buddha, to visit him. So, 500 monks traveling together, it's a huge gathering. No? So, what happened? When these 500 monks with Sariputta and Moggallana, they come, most of them were new. Because whatever direction Sariputta or Moggallana Bhante goes, people follow their footsteps. They listen Dhamma. They understand the meaning of it. And they go refuge, triple jam, renounce their home, name and titles, leave their home, and they become a monks. So, these 500 monks were there. So, the simple thing happens. Like when the first time that when we visited our monastery, how our behavior was. We don't know how to behave. We don't know whom to we talk. The new person is a little bit shy. And we feel that, okay, other places of worships have the similar thing. So we may behave in some of the way. But these 500 monks, they were new. And they also had a little bit of similar thing. But they were all monks. So because of that, some of them, they know each other. Some of them have seen before. So what happened when these new monks with the bhikkhu, when they visiting bhikkhu, when they come together, the residential monk and the newcomers, when they come together, they have the cordial talk with each other. How are you? Where are you coming from? How was your stay here? All these kind of talks were there. And while this was happening, when they were taking their robes, keeping in the one place, so 500 monks, when they were doing the same thing, it becomes a little bit noisy. So Supreme Buddha listen these words and he says, Kepanete Ananda Uchchasata Mahasata. Anand, what is this? The huge noise happening here. Kevatamanye Machavilopeti. It looks like that this is the fish market and everyone is asking, okay, selling their fish, like if you go to the Pacific Mall in Toronto, so there is a huge, beautiful sound, everyone is shouting, so many things happens. So in the same way, Pacific Mall is famous for fish. I think so. So, yeah, yes. So there is a lot, huge noise happens. Even if you have visited India, you go to the simple market. You don't have to go to the fish market. So you cannot hear the sound from anyone else. So it wasn't like the huge sound, but for the monks, for that, it was little bit of great sound that happening. Because Sariputta Mahamoggala Mantri, they were not making noise. They were already enlightened. They were silent. Some of monks were silent. But even though when the 500 monks keep their ball in one place, has the little bit of cordial talk, that small noise become very huge when all the people talk together. And as we know, Supreme Buddha or the monks, they like the isolation, the calm, quiet things, not too much noise. So Supreme Buddha asked, what is this noises? Then Ananda Bhante replied to the Bhante, Etani Bhante Sariputta Moggalanuppamukhani Panchamattani Bhikkhu Bhante, Sariputta and Mahamoggala Bhante is coming to this Cātumasutta city, this place with the 500 monks. And as they are visiting here, they are making a little bit noise. Okay, so Supreme Buddha says, okay, go to them and invite them to drink. Okay, Terhananda mama vachanena te bhikkhvamantesi. Go. And because with my words, ask them to come. Sattha yasmante amante. Go and tell them that the Lord Buddha or Supreme Buddha is inviting them. So, evam bhante ko ayasmananda bhagavato patisutva yena te bhikkhu tenupasankami. He said, yes, Bhante, and he left Supreme Buddha, and where all the 500 monks were there, he visited them and told them, okay, Supreme Buddha is inviting all of you, come here. Then when they gathered together in front of Supreme Buddha, Supreme Buddha asked to them also, Kinnu tumme bhikkhave uchchasata mahasata. Bhikkhus, why are you making this huge noise? It looks like that you're in the fish market, trying to sell your market. Come, this is fresh. They do this noise. Oh, only catch today. Come. So everyone is asking, telling the loudly their prices. In the same way, how you can make this noise? So they say, but we are here to visit, to see Supreme Buddha. Anupattani Bhagavantan Dasanaya. That these 500 monks, it's Sariputta Bhante and Moggala Bhante, came to this town to visit and see the Supreme Buddha. Then Supreme Buddha says, okay, Gacchata Bhikkhave Panamemi. Navome mama santike vattapante. Okay, because go. Don't stay here. Live in at this moment. I or go where you want to stay, depart from this monastery. So, evang bante dikote bhikkhu bhagavato. So, beautiful thing. And Supreme Buddha is sending them. They came to visit Supreme Buddha so they can have a talk. But Supreme Buddha is saying, no, you should leave now. Go away. Don't stay here. And all the monks, they just said, okay, Bhante. They worship and they started to move back. Just now they arrived and immediately teacher asked them, okay, you can leave. So if something happens today, how we will behave here? How we will say, I come to visit the Bhantes and they are throwing me out? This is not the humane thing to do. Huh? This is something, and then immediately we get negative thoughts regarding the bhikkhus, regarding this Buddha. But in that time, it was beauty. Teacher, especially the noble friends, when they do such a things, it has the meaning of that too. It has a meaning. It is our drawback that we are unable to understand. And because of these certain things that we don't understand, we get angry. We go against of the monastery. We want to leave because we don't find our place in there. Majority of now, we go to the monastery not to learn the Dhamma. Most of the people go to the monastery, associate monks, not to be humble, but to show off. But to find the place in society. Oh, I am a devotee. So people should recognize me as a devotee. You find that. As you are, I think so, you are in the Brahmana monastery for more than now 10 years or close to that. So in this time of period, you may have noticed several people came and so many people has left. So many devotees who were before you were very strong devotees. They also left because of these certain small things. But Buddha's time, it wasn't like that. Supreme Buddha said, okay, I don't want to see you now. I want to stay alone. Simple thing Supreme Buddha says. And everyone said, okay, Bhante, we will leave. So they rose from their seat in front of, they worshiped Supreme Buddha, circled him, and returned to where they kept their bow and robes and started to live. Tena kopana samena chatu mehiyaka sakya santagare sannipatita hunti. So in that time, in this Cātumasutta city, the Shakyans come together in the gathering hall, the community hall, and they were talking together and what to do, the future plannings they were doing in that moment. And they saw all the monks coming from the monastery to this way. And they remember few moments ago, these monks, all the 500 monks, they come from the different place to the monastery. And immediately after this half an hour of time, they are going back. There must be some reason. So they ask, so they mention that, okay, that we they asked them that where you are going this moment. And They told that, okay, we came here to worship Supreme Buddha, but Supreme Buddha says that he wants to stay in isolation. So he asked us to leave. So these people thought, okay, that is not okay. It's not, it shouldn't be happen in that way. That Supreme Buddha should teach them something. What is the reason? Let me see on that. So these Shakyans were very, very good. They were thought that teacher is there. If these newcomers leave, how their life will be. Because not all of them, like Sariputta and Mahamukula and Bhante, some people were new. And if they don't listen from the Supreme Buddha, their confidence may change. Their devotion toward Dhamma may change. So they asked, Tenahayasmanto muhattang nisidata. Bhante, stay here for a little bit time. Appevanama mayang sakkuneyam bhagavantang pasade. Bhante, we will go to the Supreme Buddha and we try to persuade him to teach the Dhamma to you. Okay. So they said, okay, we will stay here. So these all the Sakyans who were gathered to discuss their future, they went to the Supreme Buddha and they worshipped Supreme Buddha. And after worshipping, they said, Bhagwan, Supreme Buddha, see, these monks, they have come to visit you. These monks, they are here to visiting you, to worship you, to learn Dhamma from you. Please, Bhante, give them a chance so they can listen to Dhamma from you. And they gave the beautiful symbolism of that. They said, Bhante, some of the monks are very new. If they leave, they may change. And a couple of examples they gave as the seeds need the water. If they don't get the water properly, so they cannot grow properly. Their nature may be changed. So that can happen. So giving the water, proper water to the seeds, it's good thing to do. Yes, another simile they gave that Bhante, that these young calves, they need the water, drinking milk from their mother, and if they don't get it, then their nature, their behavior, their growth may be changed. It happens. If you plant something and if you don't give the water properly, the sprout doesn't come proper way. The food seeds doesn't bloom in the proper way. So even if the calf is not drinking properly, so the bone structure doesn't happen properly. So this cow will not produce, not has that strength. So the same way they give the example that Bhante, Supreme Buddha is a necessary thing for their development. Supreme Buddha, listening from the Supreme Buddha, listening Dhamma from the Supreme Buddha, they will grow. They will develop Dhamma in them. But if Supreme Buddha doesn't teach them, then their mind, their practices, their looking toward Dhamma may change. It may alter. So, Supreme Buddha, please show the compassion toward them. Supreme Buddha, please receive them. So while this thing is happening, in the same time, the one of the heavenly Brahma, or the Brahma world, the Brahma Sahampati, he also sees the Supreme Buddha's mind, and he left the Brahma world and come to the front of the Supreme Buddha. And he also said, Bhante, please receive this Sangha, teach the Dhamma to them. So the entire village was there. Entire village was there to persuade Supreme Buddha. And so the Brahma Sahampati also. If this thing happened today, what will happen? What will we do? Majority of people will gather together and what they will say? Yes, yes, this monastery is wrong. The monks is wrong. How can they send them off without teaching Dhamma? Oh, that is not good. That is not good. They won't try to bring them the Dhamma. They will also be part of that. Okay, something is wrong happening. Oh. But in that time of period, in Buddha's time of period, it was totally different. People were very humble. People were interested to learn Dhamma. And if someone is learning Dhamma, they were very happy to assist them, to help them. And that's why they did all these things. Even heavenly, in the Brahma world also, they had the same tendency. So what? He also mentioned. And it happens. Supreme Buddha said, okay, now ask them, they can come to me. So Supreme Buddha asked, okay, you can come. So these Shakyans went to the monks and they invited back to them. So in that moment, Uttet also Kannatan Patta Chivaran Pasadito Bhagava Cātumasutta. So Sariputta and Mahamoggala Bhante said to these monks, okay, let's go to visit Supreme Buddha, because now the Supreme Buddha he understands that he going to receive us after persuasion from the Shakyas and the Brahma Sahampati. So Sariputta and Mahamoggala Bhante was looking this entire incident on that moment. So they took their robe and bow and they went to the Supreme Buddha. They worshipped Supreme Buddha and sat down in one side. In that moment, Supreme Buddha asked the question from Sariputta Bhante. What did he ask? Kintite Sariputta ahosi maya bhikkhu sanghe pananiteti. Sariputta, what you are thinking when I ask bhikkhus to leave from here? And I said, I don't want to receive them. Sariputta Bhante replying, Evam ko me Bhante hosi. Bhante, I was thinking in this way. What? Bhagavata bhikkhu sangho panamito appo sukho dani bhagava dekta dhamma sukha vihara anuyutto viharisati mayam pidani appo sukho dekta dhamma sukha vihara manuyutta viharisamati. That Supreme Buddha wanted to stay in isolation. He wanted to practice the meditation and develop a little bit further. Or he wanted to feel this isolation of meditation, So I was thinking that I also should go to the isolation and practice meditation in that moment. So he was relating, because Sariputta Bhante was the wisest one, but even though when the Supreme Buddha says bhikkhus to go away, so he thought Supreme Buddha is not boycotting us. He's not sending us out. But Supreme Buddha wanted to stay in isolation. So we should follow him. And we also should stay in isolation. Then, Agame tvang Sariputta, Agame tvang Sariputta, Dekta Dhamma Sukha Viharaniti. Sariputta, you shouldn't have that sort of isolation. Then Supreme Buddha asked to the Mahamoggala Bhante, what is it? Kintite Moggallane ahosi maya bhikkhu sanghe panamite. When I asked monks to leave Moggala, what were you thinking? He replied to Supreme Buddha, Evam ko me Bhante ahosi. Bhante, I was thinking this. Bhagavata Bhikkhu Sanghe Panamito. So when the Supreme Buddha asked monks to leave, in that time, the thought occurred to me was that Supreme Buddha likes to stay in isolation. He wants to stay separately. So the thought occurred to me is, Aham chadani ayasmataja sariputto bhikkhu sangam pariharissavanti. When the Supreme Buddha wants to stay isolated, in that moment, myself and Sariputta Bhante should look after the bhikkhus. Myself and Sariputta Bhante should guide this Sangha. After the me and Sariputta Bhante teach or assist these newcomers toward Dhamma. Immediately Supreme Buddha was happy with this thought. He said, Sadhu Sadhu Moggallana. Moggallana Sadhu Sadhu. Your thinking were properly. Aham Vahi Moggallana. Bhikkhu Sangam Parihareya. Sariputta Moggallana. Myself should look after the Bhikkhu Sangha or Sariputta and Mahamoggallana. No one else. No one else. After the Supreme Buddha, Sariputta and Mahamoggallana is the one who should look after the Supreme Sangha. Such a thought is really appreciable. That's why when after the Supreme Buddha Sangha, our teacher is the one who we should look toward. So Supreme Buddha was very delighted. The thought of Mahamoggallana Bhante has that I should look after the Sangha. See, it's beauty of Sangha community. When the Supreme Buddha sent away, other bhikkhus may have that thought, oh, why the Buddha is sending us away? But the chief disciple is not like that. They thought Supreme Buddha wanted to stay in isolation, so we should look after the bhikkhus. I should take care of them with Sariputta Bhante. And Supreme Buddha was very happy. And this is one of the reasons that Supreme Buddha has mentioned Sariputta Bhante is like a mother who gives birth. In the Dhamma also, Sariputta Bhante brings them into the Sotapanna Phala. And Mahamoggallana Bhante is someone who look after the kids. So he established them up to enlightenment. That is the beauty that he mentioned. So then Supreme Buddha, he started to preach the Dhamma to them who's newcomers. Now Supreme Buddha is very happy. He said, Atako Bhagava Bhikkhu Amantesi. Now the Supreme Buddha invite the entire assembly or talk with the entire assembly of monks. He said, Chattari Mani Bhikkhave Bhayani Udako Rohante Pati Kampani. Because these are 4 fears in the water when someone go in. Katamani chattari. And what 4 fears? What 4 dangers they feel? Say, Umi bhayam, Kumbila bhayam, Avatta bhayam, and Susuka bhayam. Supreme Buddha says, these 4 fears are there. And what are those? The fear of waves, fear of crocodiles, fear of whirlpools, fear of sharks. Imani bhikkhave chattari bhayani udako rohante patikangikampani. So these are the 4 fears they find in the water who enters. In the same way, evameva ko bhikkhave, in the same way, because chattari mani bhayani ide kacche pukale Imasming Dhamma Vinay Agarasmanagaryang Pampachite Partikankhi Tabbanti. In the same way, because as the water has these four fears, same the four fears can be found in the Sangha also, in the Dhamma also, in the Dhamma practice also, who newly entered in the Dhamma. And what is this? Supreme Buddha gave the same names. Umi Bayang, Kumbhila Bayang, Avatta Bayang, and Susukha Bayang. The fear of waves, fear of crocodile, fear of whirlpool, and fear of sharks. See, isn't that means not everyone has the fear of crocodile in this US and Canadian region because there is no crocodile. But if you come to this side of countries, most of the water has this. In one of our monastery has a crocodile. Yes. So in one of the monastery there is a water. We are always frightened to go there. Our chief monk has said, don't enter into the water. Not good. So they stays in our water pond because that entire area is there for the crocodiles. So people don't go there. They don't enter in the water. Even the monks is also prohibited to go there. So why? Because we don't know when they're going to attack. So when the people also enter in the water, they pay a very keen attention. So Kumbhilabhaya, the fear of waves. In the newcomers, if someone is entering the water, and the first time if someone go to the ocean and they see this huge wave is coming, what happened? They are frightened. It happens with us. Then the whirlpool, you go to the Niagara Falls and there is a whirlpool all everywhere after the water is falling. They mentioned that you go to the little bit further in that park or something. There are a lot of whirlpool. If someone goes there, he will come with the bones only. That's all something like happens. Or the body will come because that much of water is pulled down in whirlpool. So it's circling, and everything is pulls down. So that also the fear is there. Doesn't matter how good you are a swimmer, but if you caught in the whirlpool, something will bad happen. So danger is there too. And sharks. Though you are familiar with the sharks, so there is a fear of that. Supreme Buddha mentioned in Dhamma also has this kind of fear that we find. So for the new people, Supreme Buddha was teaching, okay, remember this kind of fear you may find. Katamangcha bekkave umi bayang. And what is the fear of waves? So here someone, ekacho pulaputto, here any young person, Saddha Agarasmanagaryang Pampajito Huti, with the confidence, he leave his home and become homeless, attain the ordination. So in that moment, what kind of thought is in him? Oti nomi jatiya jaraya maranena sokehi paridevehi dukkehi domanasehi upayasehi dukkhotinno dukkha pareto. What he was thinking? That I have been fallen into this suffering of birth, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, all kind of fear, all kind of suffering that is fine in this. I am not liberated yet. When you see the people, like immediately, when the earliest time, if someone come to the listen Dhamma, and they understand the smallest, the good thing of Supreme Buddha, they are very energetic. Very, very energetic. Oh, Dhamma is beautiful. Today I want to complete this Dhamma. We find this kind of people. So they have that thought, okay, this Dhamma is very, very beautiful. Definitely what the Buddha has mentioned, I am suffering in here. I am suffering in this way. And that's why in the Buddha's time, This monk were thinking in that way, these people. So the newcomers was that. What happens? They are willing to finish this suffering. Tamena tatha pabbajitang samanang sa brahmachari ovadanti anusasati. So to get rid of this suffering, they take or they receive the proper guidance from their fellow monks. That okay, you should behave in this way. You should live this way. You should evam te abhikkamitabham, evam te patikkamitabham. Okay, you ordain into this dharma. You want to finish the suffering. For that, you should walk in this way. You should look in this way. You should come here. You should go there. Everything. How to hold your hands, how to open your hands. Those are also teaching. Then how to take your bowl, how to take your robe. Those are also teaching. Sampajana. So this fellow monks teach these bhikkhus to do that. So who left the home, he think in this way. Evadasa. Mayanko pupe agarya bhuta samana anye obadama. When I was at home, nothing was like that. However I wanted, I was looking. However I wanted, I was staying. However I wanted, I was there. But now here, everything is dictated. Okay, how can I leave this? It is very hard for me. So Supreme Buddha says, okay, now this person, when you see that everything is dictated, everything is mentioned, you should do in this way, it's very hard. And because of this fear, he leaves the monkhood and goes back to the home. Supreme Buddha says, that is the fear of waves. It happens in a great number. Do you know, when our monastery, the Mahamana monastery began to give the ordination, the earlier time, only 4 months was required for someone to come to the monastery and practice. After 3 to 4 months, they were able to get ordination. They were able to become a monk. But later time, now the time period is more than 1 year. Now, anyone want to become a monk, they has to go for the 1 year. They have to stay there 1 year, more than that, to serve. So test to overcome this umibhaya, to overcome of this. Because if you become immediate monk, immediately, to separating your two lives, that is very difficult. Because earlier time, how you are behaving, how you are living, and now how you have to behave, it's very hard to do. That's why this ordination time period has extended. So even though people who come for ordination, they leave because after that. So that is the first buyer, Supreme Buddha says, is found in there. Second buyer is called Kumbhila buyer, the fear of crocodiles. So this person who ordained with the confidence in Dhamma and looking at that I am suffering in this world, I want to find liberation. And having that thought, he ordained. In that time, these monks, his fellow monks, teach him, okay, what you should do? You should eat this. You should not eat this. You should eat this way. You should not eat this way. This is okay to eat. This is not okay. This time you should eat. This time you should not eat. This is the proper time to eating. This is not proper time to eating. See, beautifully it mentioned. Idang te khaditabbang. Idang te na khaditabbang. This you should eat. This you shouldn't eat. Or these are the foods we have to consume. Idang te bunjitabbang. In this way you should eat. Idang te namunjitabang. This way you should not eat. Idang te saitabang. Idang te nasaitabang. All these things, that how to take your bowl and pattabang, what is there in the bowl, eating that everyone is teaching. In the Sekya, there is thing how to eat, how to look, how to this. Every 75 Sekyas is there mentioned in these things beautifully. So is there even the time period also. So this new monk, he thinks, okay, when I was at home, there was no any restriction. There was no any restriction. I was eating whenever I want. I was eating whatever I want. And now, okay, I became a monk because of this. But who restricts on the food? I want to eat a lot, but there is those all restriction. So whenever he look at the other people, what is he? Oh, these household people are eating in whenever they want. I was also doing the same way. So because of the food, what they think? They leave the monkhood and becomes again the upasaka, or again they become the home people, householder. That happens. Why? Because this that restriction, in the Cātumasutta, there is a one way Supreme Buddha mentioned. If someone becomes aware of their food, 4 kind of food is mentioned. If someone becomes aware of their food, they can call Sammaditthi or Sotapan. See this food, how to eat, what to eat, when to eat, these things causing difficulties to become a monk. That happens. They leave. Supreme Buddha says, that is the Kumbhila Bhaya, the fear of crocodile. Supreme Buddha says, Katamang cha bhikkave avakta bhayam. And what is the fear of whirlpool? So here, any monk or anyone who left the home with the confidence and become a monk, he also thinking that this entire world is in the suffering and I want to be liberated from it. So he is practicing Dhamma. So while practicing Dhamma, at morning time when he goes to the city for Pindapata, to find the food, in that time, Arakkitena Kayena Arakkitaya Vachaya Anupatithaya Satya Asambhuttehi Indriyehi So Tatta Passati, without having mindfulness, without concentration, without guarding his eyes, ear, without guarding him, without the sampajanya, without the mindfulness, when he enter into the village, what he see, that there are home people, the gahapatis, the householders or their sons, enjoying the 5 sensual things. They are enjoying these things in the world. If the monk is not conscious, if the monk is not the mindful, what happened to him? Immediately he recalls, okay, when I was at home, I was doing these all things. I was listening music, I was enjoying, eating, sleeping, going to parties, all these things I was doing. And now, I am not doing anything. Now I am isolated. So thinking of his previous life, what happened? All the memories started to drag him down as a whirlpool, circling him continuously. Why? Because he wasn't paying attention to. He wasn't concentrated. He wasn't mindful. He forgot why he became a monk, and his mind was captured of this enjoyment. So that whirlpool dragged him down and he left the monkhood. People leave the monkhood and goes to home and becomes the lay person. Supreme Buddha says that is the fear of Avattabhaya, whirlpool. So what is the fear? Kama guna, panchanetam kama gunanam adivachanam. That is called the fear of whirlpool, Avattabhaya. In our life also it is the same thing. When we newly come to the monastery, if they ask us, okay, behave in this way, in that way, people get upset sometimes. People get upset. You find if someone is very modern person, they are coming to the monastery wearing the shorts and everything, so showing a lot of skin. Devotees, they talk with them, okay, you should not come to the monastery in this way. You should behave, the monks are leaving. So this free thinker person, what he thinks? Who put the restriction on clothing? Not good. I don't want to come this place. I want to live. So they don't come to the monastery. And what happened? The opportunity what they have means we are talking about monks. I'm talking about lay devotees. Just wearing the clothes, they stop to come into the monastery. Then for eating food also, ask them, okay, you should have to behave it in like that. Don't drink. Drinking is bad. Don't kill anyone. So 5% for that. For people, when we mention, they said, we like to enjoy. This is the restriction. Who goes to the party if there is no drinking? The newcomers. I'm talking about newcomers. So it becomes a burdensome for them. It becomes burdensome for them. And that's why they don't want to come into the monastery. They don't want to the part of that. What is this? These are the fear. These are the fear called Kumbhilabhaya. These are the fear called Avattabhaya. These are the called fear Kumbhilabhaya. This is the thing. Third one is the people when they come to the monastery as we, and then we see, okay, everyone is enjoying. Why shouldn't I? Since I become Buddhist, I'm not enjoying myself. So when they look at others, they all think, okay, they are enjoying and nothing is happening to them. Why I should restrict myself? And because of that, they stop. See the youngsters now, why they don't have that intention to come to the monastery and practice in majority way. Why? Because the same thing. Monastery says, restrict yourself. Don't enjoy which will be harmful, which will be regretful. So now this entire world, what the Western world, or even in India also, this has become common. What? To hunting, the killing, stealing, then sexual misconduct is becoming common and common. Then telling lies, it's just all the time. But drinking, it becomes very common. From the school age, they try to find, okay, where is the parties where I can get drink? That thing is happened. So if someone says the Buddhism says stop this all things and practice meditation, practice the good life, they think entire world is enjoying, why shouldn't I? And that makes them stop. Supreme Buddha says, monks, they leave their monkhood and go back to the household life because of this enjoyment. They want to enjoy, and that is called the fear of whirlpool. Fear of whirlpool. For us also, even our old practitioners also, that is a common thing to be found. We are practicing Dhamma for a long, long time, and immediately some old thing remembers, and we try to enjoy time to time. And we think, okay, I will ask forgiveness from Bhante later time. Let me try to enjoy this moment. And we do that. We do that thing. And that is the fear of called Avattavaya, fear of whirlpool. Then last one, Supreme Buddha says, Katamang bhikkhave susukabhaya. What is the fear of sharks? So, what is the shark's nature? Their bite is very strong. Once they catch you, you will be dead. Very few people survive from the shark bites. Yes, that happened. Very few people. And the Supreme Buddha gave this shark bite. It's proper example. Remember what the Supreme Buddha says? If someone left the home with the confidence and become a monk, and they're aware of that I want to escape from this suffering. But when they go into the city, when they go to the city for the alms round, without guarding themselves, without paying attention, without being mindful, what they do, they look, Vasanti Matugaman. They see the women in the city in different way. In what way? Dunnivantangva, Dupparatangva. Some of the time with very short clothes or with not the proper gesture. Tassamatugamang disva, Dunnivatangva, Duravatangva. When they see these women in this way, Rago chittang anuddhang seti. The desire arise in them. The raga, the calm raga arise in them. It happens. It's a simple thing. It's a common thing. Like monks, they are living away from the women for a long time. And once simple thing, once they see any woman who is coming wearing the shorts or showing the half of or majority of their body, immediately the desire arises because that is a common thing. It's common thing. Like it is something like if someone is diabetic and show them sweet because it is restriction for them, and now they're looking at sweet. The desire comes, I want to taste it a little bit. Something same happens with the monks, and that is entirely natural. But it happens only when they are not paying attention in Dhamma, when they are not mindful enough, when they are not guarding their eyes, ear, they are not guarding their mind. So when they go to the town, when they see these women, that happens. Yesterday, one of the monk came to us. He was coming from Thailand, and he mentioned a very disturbing thing to me. He said, when we go to the morning time, to the alms round, these girls, early in the morning, they are outside the pub or the winery shop, they are drinking. But they have a respect for Sangha. So immediately when they see the monks, they automatically go purchase something and offer them. But they came outside for morning time also for enjoyment. So when bhikkhus see them, they are drinking, they are laughing, and they are wearing this kind of clothes. If they are not mindful, automatically happens these things. So many monks fall into their traps. So many monks engaged in the traps. And he said, very disturbing thing. I don't want to believe that. But he mentioned the majority of monks has the girlfriend. So I said, how this thing can happen? And when I was reading this sutta yesterday, day before yesterday, I immediately got, that is the thing Supreme Buddha mentioned. When the bhikkhu is not aware of their life, they are not paying attention, that is the fear, the susukabhaya. The shark bite captures. Once the monk engaged in any sexual activity, what happens? He is dead. there is no recovery from that. There is no enlightenment for that monk in this life. There is no development of Dhamma in this life. No development, not a single thing he can achieve. Once he engaged, his whole life is destroyed. Supreme Buddha mentioned the same thing. When the raga arrives in this monk's life, what he do? He leave the monkhood and becomes household person. Supreme Buddha says, Susukha bhayantiko bhikkhave matugama is adhivachana. To the women and their touch is called Susukha bhaya. So in the simple way, Supreme Buddha mentioned, for the monks, women are the sharks. For the female, for the nuns, Supreme Buddha mentioned the same thing. The men are a shark. So it's opposite, opposite attracts. So if someone is there, Supreme Buddha mentioned, these are kind of the fear. They are living constantly. Only when they are not aware, when they are not mindful. See, that's why Jivananda Bhante always put restrictions on us. He said, okay, because don't go out, don't laugh more. Means in the Western world, because we are coming from the Sri Lanka or India, here we don't see more skin. Here the women stay clothed, full. But once we are there, at first time, Jivan Bhante gave the beautiful examples. He mentioned beautifully. Okay, because he gives so many suttas. Teach because why? Because this kind of fear can arise. And it really happens. See, in Western world, so many monks has destroyed. Because of this fear is there. So, Supreme Buddha mentioned these 4 kind of fear. And when he mentioned, Imani ko bhikkave chattari bhayani, these are the 4 fears will be found in this Dhamma world also. Who has left home and become monk. So these 4 fears Supreme Buddha mentioned to be aware of, to look at in the society. For the common people, for the household people, it is also the same thing. Compare from the rest of world, our behavior. We also have this restriction. Our teaching does not say, okay, you can do, you can behave, you can live whatever life you want. It mentioned, okay, restrict yourself. Be mindful. And the same way, we also can fall into this trap. And we also can live this beautiful Dhamma life. So the similarity is found. For you also have these 4 fears. For monks also has this 4 fears. So be aware of that. If we find a time in next time, we will discuss a little bit about the same thing. So how to overcome of this fear as a household person. Okay? Or we will do this 4 fear sutta which come in the Anguttara Nikaya. And we will relate it complete this sutta with the household life. Okay? As a lay devotee, how they enter into the Dhamma and what kind of fear they face. So we can relate our life to the outside world. Okay? So we can have a stronger determination to practice the path. Okay. So when the Supreme Buddha says, Idamocha Bhagava, Attamanate Bhikkhu Bhagavato Vasitang Abhinanti. When the Supreme Buddha mentioned this, all the monks rejoice in his word. They appreciate and they say sadhu to Bhante. So many monks got benefit from that because so many monks were very new. Sariputta Bhantes and Mughal Madhya, they were following. But listening these words, it was very beneficial for them. So may this sutta be beneficial for us also. May this sutta help us to overcome of these 4 kind of fears. May this sutta be helpful for us to practice the Dhamma path without any difficulties and realize the 4 noble truths in this Gautam Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.